Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Patriots Real Time Podcast. I'm your host, Theo Diesenhaus, and today we have a very special guest. ESPN's Mike Reiss joins the show. Mike, how you doing today?
Theo, I am doing great. How's everything going out your way?
I am doing fantastic. Can't wait to talk some Patriots with you. I'm just going to run through the agenda for the show. We're going OTAs, then AJ Brown trade talk. We were just one day away from that. I believe the deadline is June 1st at 4 p.m., if I'm right. So yeah, so that is in 27 hours, if my math is right there. AJ Brown could be a Patriot then, and then Kayshon Boutte. If Brown does come to New England, he could be triggered. So we'll get to that at the end of the show. But I want to start with OTAs. What was the biggest storyline in your eyes coming out of OTAs?
Theo, I just love watching the team practice. You just learn so much more just getting one day of seeing them out on the field. But if I had to pick one thing that stood out to me more than anything, it was that Christian Gonzalez wasn't there. And why wasn't he there? And what does that mean? We could find this out actually Sunday night at Drake May's charity softball game, where Christian Gonzalez is scheduled to be in attendance, and maybe he answers this question for us. Why isn't he there? What we know factually is this is the first off season that he is eligible for contract extension. And what I can tell you, based on people that I've talked with, the sides have had talks about a new deal. And so the fact he isn't there, my instincts tell me that that's probably tied to the contract situation. But let's see what Christian Gonzalez himself tells us if he elects to talk to us Sunday night.
Yeah, and that will be interesting tonight with Drake May's softball and what he has to say. But it kind of makes sense from Gonzalez's perspective. He obviously got injured last year during training camp. He had to miss 8 weeks of actual time and only 3 weeks of games. And then I believe in his rookie year, he was also injured. If I remember correctly, during the offseason, I think that was a smaller injury. But Gonzalez is, I don't want to call him injury prone, but he has had injuries. He had the concussion, 2 concussions. He had obviously the the bicep in his rookie year. So he suffers from some injuries, so it makes sense to be cautionary there. But we did see him earlier on in the offseason. So what do you think has switched from then until now, or is it just the intensity has gotten up and he wants to conserve himself?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think the first thing is, if I was advising you, let's say you were in this position, I would say, Theo, like, we got a lot of money on the line here. This is voluntary. I don't want you doing anything because I don't want you blowing out your knee and
Yeah.
putting a lot of money at risk. So I think you made a great point, Theo, in saying, like, it makes sense, right, that he took this approach. And I think what has changed is in the off-season program, there's different phases within that. So the first phase in an off-season program is basically just weightlifting and, like, call it like light calisthenics, which isn't really what it is, but you get, it's more like there's not on-field intense full team work. That's the first phase. And then the second phase, you can get out on the field and coaches can get out there with you and you can do some individual drills, that type of stuff, but not really like the full-fledged what we saw in this third phase, which is the organized team activities, which is, you're running plays,
Yeah.
you're at a pretty good speed, and it can get, even though it's teaching based, it can get competitive.
Yeah. So makes sense why he's not out there. Other guys not out there. Carlton Davis was not out there. Harold Landry, and then the big one to me, Gabe Ackus, the second-round pick out of Illinois. He did not participate the last time the media was out there. He was not present at OTA session 2. So is that concerning? Do you think it's something to do with his hamstring injury, or do you think it's something to do with the contract and the second-round picks having a whole debate over getting guaranteed money?
Yeah. So Theo, I would be surprised if it was the contract. And I think I was told by someone that I feel like would have the information that he should be back soon. So to me, I don't sense that this is any major alarm. For those that aren't familiar, it sounds like you're right on this, which I'm not surprised. You're on top of everything. Remember when he was coming out of Illinois, if I'm not mistaken, he didn't participate in Illinois' pro day because he had a hamstring injury. He ended up doing sort of a one-off on his own where scouts came back to campus, I believe, to see him work out. And so my hunch, my instinct, I don't know this for sure, would tell me, let's take it from the Patriots' point of view, Theo. Like, hey, let's shut you down here, make sure
Mhm.
that you're right. So when we get to the start of, call it training camp, or another point here in the spring, we feel like you're starting at a good point where you won't have a setback, or you have a less likelihood of a setback than if we push through right now in the spring.
Yeah, and that makes sense. It's a little bit. It's kind of the same. Obviously, it's not the same as Gonzalez because he's kind of going thinking more for himself, and this is more a Patriots perspective. But kind of just transitioning undrafted free agents. I love undrafted free agents. I love talking about them. This year, the Patriots have a lot of good undrafted free agents. So, out of all the guys that they have, in your eyes, who has the best shot to make the roster?
So the place I start, Theo, is always with the money. Right? I like to
Hmm.
see who has the most guaranteed money, because usually that tells you that player had like the best chance of like going somewhere else and had a lot of teams interested in his services. So I guess I'd start with Miles Montgomery, the running back
Hmm.
out of Central Florida. He had the most guaranteed money of any of their undrafted free agents. And I think about why, and it's Patriots running back three, for lack
Hmm.
of a better term. Let's break it down. We know Ramondre Stevenson's a lock. We know Travion Henderson's a lock.
Yep.
Who's who Antonio Gibson was last year? Is it Lan
Hmm.
Larison? Is it Terrell Jennings? Is it Jam Miller, who,
Yeah.
ironically, as a late seventh round pick, actually got less money
Yeah.
guaranteed than Miles Montgomery? So I
Yeah.
think that job is wide open.
Hmm.
And so I think those two factors would make me start with Miles Montgomery, but like, it's early, right? We
Hmm.
almost want to see a little more before you have that conviction. Like last year, I was convicted in Efton Chisholm. Like when I
Yeah.
saw him, the first time I saw him, I'm like, he cuts and moves differently. I didn't see anything, Theo, in the first OTA from any of the undrafteds that made me really be like, that's the guy.
Hmm. And Kyle Dixon was not there, so that's a guy that could make the roster. So maybe him. But I was so convinced in Efton Chisholm that I bought a T-shirt with the custom Chisholm on the back in May of last season. So I don't know
I
that
love it.
maybe that was too premature, but kind of worked out. So yeah, so Miles Montgomery, he I think he has an uphill battle to make the roster. You mentioned all the other guys. To me, I think Lan Larison is going to be the guy to emerge. Broke the foot last year in the preseason game against the Commanders. Played through it, scored a touchdown after it. Or maybe it was on the same play that he scored a touchdown. But regardless, I think it's going to be Larison to be the RB3. But Jam Miller has a great shot, him being the only drafted one of those guys that you mentioned. So we'll see how that goes.
Theo, two things on that, right? So
Hmm.
that position, special teams, probably going to be a
Yep.
factor, right? Like let's see which one of those guys can really make a mark on special teams. And then the other piece on that with the running back three, pass protection
Hmm.
is so hard, right? Like that's where I think your point about Larison is great. Like he's already got like 1 year in the system
Yep.
compared to Jam Miller or Miles Montgomery. And I think that can be a big difference. And I am not sleeping on Terrell Jennings just yet.
Hmm.
He was on the practice squad all last year. He's big,
Yep.
physical. And then the last thing I thought of was at practice on Wednesday, I was watching Mike Vrabel working with the running backs, and Miles Montgomery was going through a drill, and Vrabel thought he had like too much pitter patter with his feet. Like he wanted more
Hmm.
decisive cut, based on the leverage of the defender that he was approaching. So don't want to read too much into it, but sort of
Yeah.
something to chew on the discussion, right?
Yeah. So Jennings, you mentioned, he's been here the longest out of those guys. Was here in 2024. I watched him. I was like, that is the hardest runner I've ever seen in my life. didn't make the team in 24. I think he got called up for a few games.
Yep.
25, he scored his first touchdown against the Falcons. So we'll see. But yeah, kind of transitioning now to the AJ Brown talk. Uh, Patriots fans had this date circled the entire offseason, June 1st. That is tomorrow. We made it. So what do you think the compensation would be for a potential AJ Brown trade? We've heard 2028 first. We've heard the Patriots don't want to give up a first. So in your eyes, what do you think?
So I would just stress, this is my opinion. This isn't based on anything that anyone involved in it has told me. I think the Eagles are committed to trading AJ Brown.
Hmm.
And because of that, I feel like their leverage isn't as high as it would be otherwise. So to me, that factors into the whole compensation here. Not every trade, no trade is the same. And so ideally, if you're trading a player, you want multiple suitors to drive up the price. It doesn't look to me like they have multiple suitors. So with that context, what I would say is my best guess, again, not reporting this, no one has told me this, is that it's a 2028 first round pick going from the Patriots to the Eagles, and it would be AJ Brown and something else, call it a fourth round pick, a fifth round pick, coming back to the Patriots as part of the deal, or some type of swap in there, that makes it, not just a one for one type of thing.
Hmm. And for a guy that is coming off a season where he barely had 1,000 yards, a guy that has a knee issue that got him traded out of Tennessee in 2022, do you think a 2028 first round pick where we don't, I mean, I'm assuming AJ Brown is going to be on the team in 2028, but that would be going into the 2020, no, it would be going into 2028 season. But yeah, I mean, you never know what could happen. Do you think that is too much to give up for a guy like Brown?
So I think a 2028 first round pick without with for just AJ Brown, I actually do think that that's pretty rich.
Hmm.
So that being said, Theo, I was watching the receivers at practice last Wednesday, and I thought to myself, that group needs something else.
Hmm.
And so, if I'm being honest, I do think it's rich to give up, but the alternative to me is not great.
Yeah.
And so I think if you're the Patriots, you can justify giving that up and saying, you know what, to get, and Bill Belichick used to say this all the time, to get something, sometimes you got to give something up,
Hmm.
that maybe is a little more than you would want. And that's part of making a trade. And I think, and I like what you said, like he's going to be 29 on June 30th.
Hmm.
He's had some knee issues in the past. So I'm assuming health. He's also been like really productive, forced, all
Yeah.
those 1,000 yard seasons. And I think part of it is like it's projecting what he would do in the Patriots offense with Drake May, which is a
Hmm.
lot different than what he would do. And I didn't realize this until I talked to people a lot smarter than me. The Eagles offense last year was apparently very simplistic, and he wasn't a top priority, it sounds like. And so the Patriots offense is not simplistic, and he's going to be a priority. And so I think with all those things in play, um, you can expect, as long as he's healthy, like you said, that production to continue.
Yeah, I agree with that point. Just sometimes you got to give up more to get what you need. Like you said, the receiver room is not great. I think it's a little bit better than last year, but not great. With AJ Brown coming in, is he the best receiver since Julian Edelman, Brandon Cooks, Randy Moss, maybe Wes Welker? What do you think? Or for the Patriots, I mean.
Yeah, that's a tough one for me to answer. I mean, I have a lot of respect for Julian Edelman. I think he's such a different type of receiver, Theo.
Yeah.
And so
Hmm.
I think I like the connection to Randy Moss from a standpoint of, I remember this, Theo, in 2007, we're asking some similar questions about Randy that we were
Hmm.
about AJ Brown. Now that was for a fourth round pick,
Yeah.
which is a lot less than obviously what we're talking about as projected compensation. But I
Hmm.
mean, this is a big guy, right? 6'1", 6'2", 225. So I think I think he's really unlike a lot of guys that they've had before, which
Hmm.
makes it really fascinating when you think about it. So I'm all in now. I wasn't until I watched practice on Wednesday, and when I watched
Hmm.
practice, I thought to myself, at the parts that I watched, I said, if I'm an opposing defensive coordinator, what do I really fear here? And what I feared, Theo, was like the totality of the offense. Like
Hmm.
they're deeper at tight end. They look deeper with a fullback. So I think Josh McDaniels can do a lot of different things. But from a pure talent standpoint, like what do I fear in terms of personnel? I was sort of left
Yeah.
like saying there's something missing here.
Yeah, from like 2020 until probably 2024, even last year, you kind of had that same question and there was no answer. And now you're probably gonna have AJ Brown to fear. Romeo Dobbs with AJ Brown, kind of a little scary. We'll see what Travion Henderson can do. Obviously Drake May, his ability to run the football, as well. So I think that they adding AJ, like if they don't have AJ Brown, like you said, some of those things don't really like are you fearing Romeo Dobbs if he's the wide receiver one? No. Um, and the running game gets better with AJ Brown because you're going to be able to build off the pass game. So, yeah. Continuing on with wide receivers, Kayshon Boutte. This is a guy who has gotten better and better throughout each season that he's been with the Patriots. Started off, he had like 2 catches his rookie year, and then he gets better. He struggled with drops in 2024, but this year he gets his hands better. He is holding out. I guess you could say. I guess it's OTA, so you can't really hold out because they're optional. But is a Kayshon Boutte trade on the horizon?
Good question, Theo. I think any trade, and I always go back to what Bill Belichick said: it takes two teams, right?
Hmm.
And so I do think if a team came to the Patriots and said we're interested in Kayshon Boutte, and whether and that there's a little bit of a unknown piece here. Is Kayshon looking for something here? Is it, or is
Hmm.
he good to come back?
Yeah.
Is he looking for more money? Like we don't know, so there's a little bit of unknown on this. Some have asked, would Kayshon Boutte be in the deal for AJ Brown? I don't, I haven't really sensed that, but I
Hmm.
suppose that's something we should keep on the radar. But it looks like the Eagles loaded up a little bit at
Yeah.
receiver, right?
Hmm.
So I think it's something right now, Theo, is he's under contract. I believe the contract's like 3.6 million in base salary, so his number went up pretty significantly if I have it right.
Hmm.
If if I'm the Patriots, I don't see why you wouldn't keep him as long as there's not an issue of for him. Like does he
Yeah.
does he want to be here? Where's the buy-in level? So I think there's like this is a hard topic for me to talk about because I feel like I have incomplete information, if that makes sense.
Hmm. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't because there have been reports that he's been shopped for like it was yeah, fifth and a sixth or a fifth or a sixth. Um, and I don't know. I guess it makes sense for a guy like Kayshon Boutte, but the teams just like not want him. Is that I don't know because it's hard to imagine because he was a productive player. To me, he's like a one-trick pony. He doesn't really do much else besides um, get open deep and catch football, which is very valuable. But for teams that don't have quarterbacks like Drake May, how valuable is that? Would he be able to succeed in an offense with Jalen Hurts um, or another quarterback? I don't know. So we saw him with Mac Jones. It was not. I mean, he did get benched, and that's a little not the best comparison. But I don't know. So.
And Theo, I actually wanted to follow up on something you said because I wanted to get your opinion on this. And
Mhm.
we were talking about the receivers and that maybe they were better, or a little bit better, if I heard it right now,
Mhm. Yes.
than they were last year. And I have to tell you, like Stephon Diggs to me, like I feel like what he did for the team, and this is more my opinion, like is almost being undersold. Like so
Yeah.
it's not everyone knows the production, 85 catches, whatever, 1,013 yards, 4 touchdowns, if I have it right off the
Hmm.
top of my head. But it was even like the emotional part of it,
Right.
like and so I do believe they feel like what you said, like that they're a little bit better. I guess I'm of the mindset of that needs to be proven. Like I don't know
Hmm.
if I can go there as decisively as some others, and I'm curious your opinion in that area.
Yeah, so I think what I should have said was they're probably, well, I don't know, but to me, Diggs last year is better than Romeo Dobbs, but Diggs, who's going into his age 33 season this year,
Yep.
how much better is he going to be better than what is Dobbs 26
Yep. Great
this
point.
season?
Yep.
That's kind of just my thing. Is Diggs going to fall off? He's 2 years removed from the ACL now, but he's also 2 years older, so or a year older. But I don't know. That's my only question. I think obviously Diggs had a huge impact. Diggs did disappear in the playoffs, and how much was at the offensive line and Drake May not finding him, but he didn't produce in the playoffs, and I said it kind of early on in the offseason. I made an Instagram post. I was like, I'm fully out on Stephon Diggs coming back to the team, and I got people were like, you don't know anything, you don't know anything about football. A month later, he gets cut. People, this is shocking. Why'd they cut him? I was like, I told you. I think that he's going into his 33 season. He had the legal issues at the time. He disappeared in the playoffs, and so that's why I personally was like, thank you, Stephon Diggs. You did wonders for Drake May, but I think it's time to move on. And I thought they needed to upgrade, and I think they have.
And I think that's really smart. What the way you looked at it, it wouldn't surprise me if, and I think the team in some circles there sees it similarly. Like maybe they got the best out of Stephon Diggs. What's
Hmm.
the likelihood that that will happen again? And maybe for me, Theo, and this is maybe a weakness of mine, sometimes I lead with my heart more
Yeah.
than my head, but I'm betting on Stephon Diggs, and I have a fun, like, I'm gonna call it a wager, but a fun contest with a colleague, Mark Bertrand at 98.5 The Sports Hub. Once we
Hmm.
find out where Stephon Diggs lands this year,
Hmm.
I want to just make sure I assess the fit, and we're gonna put a little fun game together. Who has more production, Stephon Diggs or Romeo Dobbs? And
Yeah.
I'm gonna be on the Diggs side. I think he's gonna be on the Dobbs side, and we'll see where it lands.
I bet Diggs will. I have him going to Kansas City. No, I don't know anything, obviously, but I feel like that'd be a great fit for him. Rasheed Rice, obviously dealing with the knee injury and going to jail. So he'll produce there, I think. He really doesn't have any competition there besides Xavier Worthy. So if he goes there, he can produce, and Dobbs is going to have to compete with AJ Brown for targets. So you should probably win that bet, or you will probably win that
All
bet.
right, all right,
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's all I have. Thank you so much for joining the show, Mike. And yeah, see ya
awesome,
next time.
awesome, Theo.